Eala. The results haven't been there on grass after such a great start to the year. Why she's not getting the results we normally see on the surface?
There is a simple piece of cardstock pinned to a wall inside the All England Club this week. Printed on it, in a plain font designed to be functional rather than memorable, is the number 29 with the name Alexandra Eala displayed just above it. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than another routine marker on Wimbledon's famous drawboard, the kind that thousands of people pass without a second thought. But that small card represents far more than a place in the tournament. It is the final document in a journey that began years before the tennis world knew her name, long before anyone outside Manila imagined that one day a Filipino would earn a seated place at the sport's most prestigious Grand Slam.
I think you have to give yourself grace while also being brave.
Like every other placard inside the All England Club, it serves a simple administrative purpose, identifying where each seeded player belongs on the draw. Yet this one quietly tells a much bigger story. It marks the end of years of sacrifice, relentless training, and unwavering belief. Every early morning practice, every difficult defeat, every lesson learned on courts far from home led to this moment. That modest card may not attract much attention from passing fans, but for Alexandra Eala, it stands as undeniable proof that her dream has become reality after years of dedication.
Eala's not had too many wins in Grand Slam events, we have to say that, but she is good on grass. She got to the final at Eastbourne last year. She won the title in Birmingham.
At just 21 years old, Alexandra Eala arrives at Wimbledon 2026 as the world number 30 and the first Filipina in history to earn a seeded position at a Grand Slam tournament. The drawboard doesn't explain any of that. It simply shows the number 29 beside her name. But behind that number lies one of the most remarkable stories in tennis today. As Wimbledon prepares to begin on Monday, June 29th, Eala enters the tournament following an impressive 6-week grass court campaign that included winning the Birmingham WTA 125 title on June 7th, reaching the semifinals in Berlin a week later, and competing in Bad Homburg just 6 days ago. Today, instead of focusing only on match predictions and headlines, we're taking a closer look at the habits that helped her climb into the WTA top 30. Every detail in this story comes from Eala herself or from the coaches and people who have worked closely with her. Since joining the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca in 2018 under coach Joan Bosch, she has steadily developed into one of the brightest young talents in women's tennis. Her left-handed game gives opponents a unique challenge every time she steps onto the court, but her success has been built on much more than playing style. Around her, the spotlight continues to grow. There is excitement surrounding a potential second-round meeting with Serena Williams should both advance, growing attention after partnering with Venus Williams in doubles at Bad Homburg, and widespread recognition following Andy Roddick's podcast episode dedicated to her earlier this year. As those headlines spread, social media has filled in countless details that Eala herself has never confirmed, from elaborate morning routines to precise breakfast menus and claims of 5 a.m. wake-up calls. None of those assumptions belong in this story. What matters is what has actually been said on the record. The truth is that her daily routine is far less glamorous than the internet imagines, and that is exactly what makes it inspiring. The spotlight may shine on the number beside her name, but it is the quiet, disciplined routine behind the scenes that earned her place there. From the smallest habits to the simple essentials, even something as ordinary as applying sunscreen and choosing an outfit she feels comfortable wearing before stepping onto the practice court.
I am so honored to be lifting this trophy today. Lifting this trophy does not mean that I will be among the greats yet, so I'm motivated to keep working.
The routine begins with the same hairstyle she wears before every match, followed by a carefully planned warm-up treatment with a physiotherapist whose name most fans have never heard, and the reassuring presence of a coach who has been in her corner since she was just 14 years old. There is nothing magical about it. There are no secret formulas or overnight breakthroughs. Alexandra Eala has reached this level because she has repeated the right habits day after day, year after year. That is the story we are exploring over the next several minutes. And every part of it is supported by what has been publicly documented. Start with what being seeded actually means. A Grand Slam seed is not based on hyperpopularity. It is earned through results. This week, Eala arrives at Wimbledon ranked world number 30 with 1,436 WTA ranking points after reaching a career high of number 29 on March 16th. She has compiled a 27-16 singles record during the 2026 season and has earned more than $852,000 in prize money. Those numbers are the evidence. They explain why her name appears on that card inside the All England Club, but they do not explain the countless hours that produce them. Much of those ranking points came during an outstanding week in Berlin. On June 18th, she faced world number 2 and former Wimbledon champion Elena Rybakina, one of the biggest servers on the WTA Tour. Eala delivered one of the finest victories of her career, winning 7-5, 6-4 to record her first victory over Rybakina and her 5th career win against a top 10 opponent. Less than 24 hours later, she returned to the court and defeated Alina Svitolina 6-3, 6-4 in just 1 hour and 23 minutes, producing back-to-back top 10 victories on grass, the surface many consider the most physically demanding for movement and recovery. Performances like that are not created overnight. They are built through months of disciplined preparation, consistent recovery, and countless ordinary days that rarely make headlines. Her run eventually ended in the semifinals against Linda Noskova, but by then the rankings had already reflected the impact of her remarkable week. From the outside, those victories looked extraordinary. For Eala, they were simply another Wednesday and Thursday built upon years of preparation. That difference is what defines her rise. Just 3 weeks before Berlin, on June 7th, she captured the Birmingham WTA 125 title by defeating Nikola Bardenkova 5-7, 6-3, 7-5 after battling for 2 hours and 38 minutes. It was her second WTA 125 singles title following Guadalajara the previous year. During the trophy ceremony, her reaction revealed the mindset behind her progress. She said she was honored to lift the trophy, but made it clear that winning one title did not mean she had already joined the sport's greatest players. Instead, she viewed it as motivation to continue improving. Those words, asterisk, asterisk, not yet, asterisk, asterisk, may be the clearest reflection of her mentality. So what does that daily work actually involve? The most direct answer comes from an interview she gave last August, where she described her matchday routine in surprisingly simple terms: warming up properly, eating before matches, wearing an outfit that makes her feel confident, fixing her hair the way she likes it, and never forgetting sunscreen. Nothing about the routine sounds extraordinary, yet consistency is exactly what makes it powerful. Behind the scenes are people whose names rarely appear in headlines. Joan Bosch has coached her at the Rafa Nadal Academy since her teenage years and has frequently spoken about her dedication and professionalism. Fitness and medical specialist Luke Beza also played a vital role, helping guide her recovery from the shoulder injury that threatened to interrupt her hard court season earlier this year. Their work happened far from television cameras, but its results became visible during those unforgettable victories over Rybakina and Svitolina in Berlin. In many ways, the seated position displayed on that small Wimbledon draw card is simply the final receipt for years of disciplined coaching, rehabilitation, and repetition. Looking beyond the statistics, the praise from respected voices within tennis reinforces the same conclusion. Former world number 1 and U.S. Open champion Andy Roddick dedicated an entire episode of his Served podcast to Alexandra Eala earlier this year, recognizing not just her talent, but the disciplined process that has steadily transformed potential into results. Joining Andy Roddick on that podcast was John Wertheim, the longtime Sports Illustrated senior writer and 60 Minutes correspondent, one of the most respected voices in tennis journalism. Together, They described Alexandra Eala as the pride of the Philippines, praising what they called her meteoric rise and acknowledging the growing reality that she has become a national sporting hero. During the conversation, Roddick jokingly remarked that despite being only 21 years old, Eala often carries herself as if she were secretly 47. It was meant as genuine praise. Her calm demeanor, thoughtful interviews, and mature perspective reflect a player who rarely allows emotion to overwhelm her. She speaks with confidence, but without unnecessary drama, showing the composure of someone who has spent years learning the professional side of the sport. That maturity did not appear overnight. Much of it can be traced back to Joan Bosch, the coach who has guided her development since her teenage years at the Rafa Nadal Academy. In ABS-CBN's documentary Born for Center Court, Bosch explained that Eala's greatest strength is not one overpowering shot or spectacular weapon, but the consistency of her preparation. That observation perfectly reflects the central idea of this story. The habits that define Alexandra Eala are not dramatic or mysterious. They are built around repetition, discipline, and trust in the people around her. A coach who has remained by her side for years. A fitness specialist who quietly helped rebuild her shoulder when injury threatened her season. A former U.S. Open champion who believed her progress deserved an entire podcast discussion. None of those details require exaggeration because the truth is compelling enough on its own. Looking at the bigger picture, Eala's achievement becomes even more significant. She enters this year's Wimbledon draw alongside some of the brightest young stars in women's tennis, including 2021 U.S. Open champion Emma Raducanu, who sits just one place behind her in the seedings. Eala occupies the number 29 position, while Raducanu follows at number 30. That is the level of competition she now belongs to. More importantly, her seeding represents a historic milestone for Philippine tennis. Never before has a Filipina been seeded at any Grand Slam tournament, not at Wimbledon, the US Open, Roland Garros, or the Australian Open. While Southeast Asia has occasionally celebrated success in men's tennis, this moment opens a completely new chapter for women's tennis in the Philippines. The excitement among Filipino fans has reflected that historic significance. Across online communities, social media groups, and tennis forums, supporters have enthusiastically shared the Wimbledon draw, celebrating the milestone while expressing optimism for what lies ahead. Although countless speculative stories about her daily life continue to circulate online, this story stays focused only on what has been confirmed. What cannot be disputed is the pride felt by an entire nation watching one of its own compete on one of tennis's biggest stages. On Monday, Eala is scheduled to begin her Wimbledon campaign against Renata Zarazua of Mexico in the opening round. If she advances, a projected second-round meeting with Serena Williams competing on a wild card could become one of the tournament's biggest storylines. That is the opportunity earned by becoming the number 29 seed. Yet the journey has never been without setbacks. Just 6 days before arriving at Wimbledon, Eala competed in Bad Homburg following her impressive run in Berlin, where her momentum came to an end with a loss to Elise Mertens. It served as another reminder that even during breakthrough seasons, progress is rarely a straight line. The difference is that players like Alexandra Eala simply return to work, trusting the same disciplined routine that brought them this far in the first place, that defeat in Bad Homburg came against Elise Mertens, marking Mertens' third consecutive victory over Alexandra Eala after previous wins in Madrid earlier this season. There was no hidden controversy or dramatic storyline behind the result. On that particular day, Mertens simply executed better on a grass court that suited her game. Eala has not publicly commented on the loss, and in many ways, that silence says everything. Rather than dwelling on one disappointing afternoon, she moved forward exactly as professionals do. Just 6 days later, she arrived at Wimbledon ready to compete once again. That is the side of elite sport that rarely appears in highlight reels. Fans celebrate victories, But few see the quiet transition from defeat on Tuesday to another practice session by Friday on the courts of Southwest London. Consistency is not about avoiding losses. It is about refusing to let them interrupt the process. Alexandra Eala's routine does not make her unbeatable. It makes her dependable. And in professional tennis, repeatability is one of the greatest advantages a player can possess. The contrast with just 1 year ago is remarkable. At the previous Wimbledon, she arrived as an unseeded player still trying to establish herself on the biggest stage. Today, on the eve of Wimbledon 2026, she enters the tournament as the number 29 seed, carrying not only the expectations of a rising star, but also the hopes of an entire nation. A potential second-round meeting with Serena Williams awaits if she wins her opening match. She is already scheduled to compete alongside Venus Williams in doubles. Andy Roddick has devoted an entire podcast episode to discussing her rise, and her name now sits in the history books as the first Filipina ever to earn a Grand Slam seeding. Standing beside her throughout that journey are the people who helped make it possible: Coach Joan Bosch and fitness specialist Luke Beza, whose work largely happens away from the cameras, but whose influence is visible every time Eala steps onto the court. 6 days ago, she walked off after a straight set defeat. Tomorrow, she walks back onto one of tennis's biggest stages with the same preparation she has trusted for years. The routine remains unchanged. Apply the sunscreen, wear the outfit that brings confidence, tie back the hair, complete the warm-up, trust the preparation, and compete. Those habits did not make Alexandra Eala famous. They made her a Grand Slam seed. That simple card displaying the number 29 still hangs on the wall inside the All England Club, and her name remains above it because she earned every point required to be there. As she said after winning the Birmingham title just weeks ago, lifting this trophy does not mean that I will be among the greats yet. So I'm motivated to keep working. Those words perfectly capture the mindset behind her remarkable climb into the world's top 30. Now, the next chapter begins. Wimbledon is here. Renata Zarazua stands on the other side of the net in the opening round, and another opportunity awaits. If you want to follow every step of Alexandra Eala's Wimbledon journey, be sure to subscribe, because we'll be covering every match and every milestone as her story continues to unfold.